This is a week of celebration. Sadhya, celebrations, festivals, visits, and all these things are ongoing. But for us aspirants, our preparation has to go on. And for that reason, this week we will be discussing two most important and very simple things which were there in last week's current affairs. Welcome to another episode of Weekly Current Affairs from Amrita IAS Academy. Myself Manisham Nambiar, I am the faculty for Indian Polity and Governance. While we are celebrating our Onam this week, last week something very important for Kerala happened. Or sorry, not Kerala, it's Keralam now. The Parliament of India had passed the law to make changes to the name of the state of Kerala to Keralam, and the President of India had assented it. So now today we will be discussing how this process can be done, how the name of a state in India can be changed. So we are going to deal with part 1 of the Constitution and Article 3. So according to part 1 of the Constitution, which is dealing with the union and territories in India, Article 3 of the Constitution is with respect to the formation of new states, renaming of new states or renaming of the existing states, adding new states or making changes to the existing territories of India by combining them or bifurcating them or joining few parts of different states to form a new state. So the procedure under Article 3 is very simple. If you understand it in a proper linear manner, it will be very easy for you to study. So the process starts obviously with the introduction of a bill. But here, when compared to other bills of the Parliament, this particular bill, which is intended to make some changes to the territory of India, using Article 3, a prior recommendation from the side of the President of India is required before introduction in the Parliament of India. So step 1, for the introduction, a prior recommendation from the side of President of India is mandatory. So once when the President recommends the introduction, the bill can be introduced. Now comes our first point, first question potential. It can be introduced in any house of the Parliament. So the bill can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. Point number 1. So once when the bill is introduced in the Parliament, obviously it should be passed by both houses of the Parliament. Then comes the question number 2. What is the majority which is required? The bill should be passed in a simple majority, and this particular detail is given under Article 4. So once when the bill is introduced in the Parliament of India, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has to pass it separately, and the passage process has to be in a simple majority, that is more than 50% of the members present and voting. As simple as that. So now once when the bill is passed by the Parliament of India, the bill should be sent to the President, and once when the President gives the assent to the particular bill, the bill becomes an act of law and the change will be implemented. So simple, right? But here there is something which we have to discuss in detail. In the second step, while the President was giving the prior recommendation, there is also one more additional step which is present, which we have to take care. That is one of the most important areas. Since this particular Article 3 of the Constitution is dealing with the reorganization of the territory of India, and since the changes can happen to states in India, and also we are a federal structure, we are following the ideals of federalism. So here the President of India has to refer this matter to the State Assembly. So the Constitution under Article 3 says that whenever the Parliament is using Article 3 to make some changes to the states in India, the President of India has to refer this matter to the legislature of the state. So the state legislative assembly has to be informed of the matter. So now when the President is giving this reference to the state assembly, the President will be telling what is going to happen. Say for example, in the case of Kerala, see, your name is going to be changed. Are you aware of that matter? So that communication will be done. Now the President will be taking the opinion from the state, and a time limit will be prescribed. So these are the three things. So what is going to happen? That will be done. Then what is your opinion in this matter? That will be asked. And the third thing, within what time the state has to give the opinion. So these three things will be part of the reference from the side of the President. Here comes the most important thing. What if the state is not ready or not accepting the recommendation from the side of the President of India? Nothing can be done, because it is just kind of a one-way communication, or any opinion given by the state is not binding on the President of India. That is first thing. So state do not have any active role, just an advisory role is present here. Now comes the next one. What about the time limit? Is it fixed by the constitution? No, not at all. The time limit can be determined by the President of India, and it is not written anywhere in the constitution nor in any of the laws in India. So now if we look at the procedure once again, the process starts with the prior recommendation, and along with prior recommendation, the reference should be made to the State Legislative Assembly. Now, once when the recommendation is done and once when the prior recommendation by the President is given, the process will be sent to the Parliament of India, where the Parliament can make discussions, they can make passage of the bill, and the passage should be in simple majority. Once when it is passed, it is sent to the President for assent, and once when the President signs on it, becomes a bill, becomes an act of law. That's it. Now comes another question. What if during the Parliament's process, what if they make changes to the bill which was introduced initially? Say for example, in the case of Kerala, the proposal was to change the name of Kerala to Keralam. So now when, let us consider an imaginary situation, what if the Parliament of India, while debating on it, decided to go with not Keralam but something else? In that case, should the President inform the state of Kerala again? So once it was already informed, should the President inform again? So that is not required. The President need to only inform once to the State Assembly what is going to happen. Then later whatever happens within the Parliament need not be informed by the President each and every time to the State Assembly. That's it. As simple as that. So this particular procedure proves something. In India, states do not have active control or real control over their territory. The name of a state can be changed any time by the center. Only condition is that it should be passed by the Parliament and it should be requiring the prior approval from the side of the President of India. And now you know how the name of Kerala had been changed to Keralam by the Parliament of India. So that's it with respect to the first news which we had to discuss for this week. Now comes the second week. Last week, the meeting of the Southern Zonal Council happened in Tamil Nadu. So now we are going to discuss about the zonal councils which are present in different parts of India. So what are these zonal councils? Simple thing. These zonal councils are regional councils in India, and the purpose of these regional zonal councils is that these zonal states, the states which are the territories which are present in this particular zone, they will come together, they will discuss their common matters of debates or maybe disputes. They will get an opportunity to negotiate, they will get an opportunity to discuss the matter along with the center, and through that process, through the ideals of cooperative federalism, India can move into a better future. A better coordination, better integration can happen in India through the creation of zonal councils. So now we need to know the details about zonal councils because it is one of the most important areas in our constitution and the principles of the constitution. So with respect to this zonal councils, first thing we need to understand, the idea of zonal councils was proposed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. The situation was this: once when we got independence in 1947, and then later when the Constitution of India was being framed at that time period, there were different demands from different states in India that states should be created on the basis of language. Say for example, at that time in 1950s, there was no Kerala, there was no Andhra Pradesh. It was the state of Madras, the larger state of Madras, which comprised of present day Tamil Nadu, present day Kerala, the southern parts of Karnataka and southern parts of Andhra Pradesh. So it was a very huge state which consists of different present day modern states. So what was the issue? The issue was very simple. One huge state in which different languages are being spoken, but the administrative control is vested with one of the situated areas. Similar issue happened with the state of Bombay. In state of Bombay, the Marathi speaking Bombay population had the administrative control because the headquarters was present there. But the state of Gujarat, present day state of Gujarat, was also part of the larger state of Bombay, where the Gujarati is being spoken, and they have huge wealth and economic resources. So these kinds of disputes between people within a state created tension, and because of this reason there was a demand for linguistic states. And when these linguistic states were created and when the process was ongoing, there was a fear within the makers of the constitution as well as the leaders of the central government. What the reason was that we had a bloodshed in 1947 when India was partitioned. So we did not want to partition India again and again based on cultural or social identities. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the division of India, or maybe the division of the states in the basis of language was necessary, and ultimately it happened in 1956 through the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act and the States Reorganization Act. So when this reorganization was done, the center had to do it eventually, but they made an additional effort. Yes, we are giving you the status of states on the basis of language, but don't promote division and regionalism. Please ensure integrity amongst yourself. So because of that reason, zonal councils were created in India. So the zonal councils are created as statutory bodies in India. That is the first thing which we need to understand. And their purpose is to ensure better coordination among states and also to ensure national unity and integrity. So this is the idea behind the zonal councils. So accordingly, India had been divided into 5 zones initially. In this diagram, you can see there are 6 zones. Starting with the northern zone, we have the western zone, southern zone, central zone, eastern zone, and the northeastern zone. So in this map, you can see there are 6 zones. But initially, when the zonal councils were created in 1956, there were only 5 zones. Then later in 1971, the Northeastern Council was created and a zonal council was created for the Northeastern Council, and because of that reason today we have 6 zonal councils. So here what is happening in the southern zone, if you are considering Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and also the Union Territory of Pondicherry, which includes Puducherry, Mahi, Karaikal, Yanam, all these territories were made part of the southern zone. Now Maharashtra, Gujarat, Goa, and Daman and Diu and Dadra Nagar Haveli, these territories were also made part of the Western Zonal Council. Now when it comes to the Northern Zonal Council, we have Rajasthan, Haryana, NCT Delhi, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, and Ladakh. These are the territories of the Northern Zonal Council. Then we have Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh in the Central Council, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, and West Bengal in the Eastern Council. Then when it comes to the Northeastern Council, we have the entire state of Northeast and Sikkim as part of the Northeastern zone. So these are the 6 zones which are present in India. So now you have a broader idea how these zones are being grouped into. So the purpose is simple. Say for example, if you consider the southern zone, their ideas, their aspirations will have some commonalities. So that commonalities have to be addressed as a group itself, not as individual states. So as to enter better coordination among these states, to get a better solution, to avoid any kinds of disputes. Say for example, water dispute, interstate river water dispute is one of the biggest issues when it comes to the relation between different states in India. So the zoning into different regions can help in addressing those issues. So that is the major intent behind it. So when it comes to our exam potential, one thing which we need to know is their status of these zonal councils as statutory bodies, which we have discussed in the previous slide. Statutory bodies, that is one thing which we need to understand. Second one, which all states are included in which all regional zones, that is the second thing which we need to understand. Now comes the third and the most important part of this particular topic, that is the composition of these zonal councils. Who all are the members, which means from each state which authority is representing the state. There we need to have a proper clarity on what is being mentioned under the law and what we have to understand from that. Okay, so we will start with the process. Now if you consider the zonal councils in India, we know that there are in total 6 zonal councils, 5 based on the States Reorganization Act and 1 zonal council based on the Northeastern Councils Act of 1971. So the North, West, South, East and Central councils has been created based on the States Reorganization Act of 1956 and the Northeastern Council has been created as per the Northeastern Council Act of 1971. Fine. Now, let us consider the situation where the members of the council are being selected. So, according to the States Reorganization of 1956, who all are the members? Each state can send the chief minister as a representative. So, that is the first member from each state in each of the zonal council. Then, 2 ministers can also be sent along with the chief minister. That is the second person who is part of the zonal council as per the States Reorganization Act. Now, a union minister will be nominated by the President of India. So, these are the members of the council, which includes the union minister, one union minister who is nominated by the President of India, chief ministers of all the states which are present in the particular zone, then 2 ministers from each state, and the CM and the ministers will be nominated by the governors of the state. Obviously, that is obvious there. So, these are the members of the zonal council. Then the zonal councils will also get the support of the secretariat, which comprise of the chief secretaries from each state, then the representatives from the Niti Aayog. So, all such permanent executive will also be present. Then, with respect to the chairperson of the committee for each zonal council, the law says that the union minister as nominated by the president shall be the ex officio. The union minister as nominated by the President of India will be the ex officio chairperson of this particular zonal council. Now, when it comes to the vice chairperson, it shall be the chief ministers of the states in 1 year tenure. Say for example, if for 2026, if Chief Minister of Kerala is the vice chairperson, for 2027 it could be Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. For 2028 it could be from Andhra Pradesh and likewise. So, in 1 year tenure, chief ministers of each state will act as the vice chairperson of the zonal councils, which are created as per the States Reorganization Act of 1956. So, now you got an idea. And there is one more thing. Usually, not usually, always, the union minister who is nominated by the president is the Home Minister of India. So, currently, Honorable Home Minister Amit Shah is the chairperson of the zonal councils in India. But you need to be careful there. The law says that a union minister should be nominated by the president. Law is not explicitly mentioning the name of Home Minister. Law is only saying a union minister which is to be nominated by the president. So, if the question is asking you whether it is Home Minister or Union Minister as per the law, then you should be ticking the option as Union Minister. But instead, if the question is not specifying the law and instead generically, if the question is asking you who is the chairperson, then you can go with the Home Minister. That's it. Now, when it comes to the Northeastern Councils Act, now the composition is entirely different. So, the Northeastern Council Act says that the council shall comprise of the governors of the states. So, the entire states which are present in the Northeastern Council, governors of each state will be members. Then, chief ministers from each and every state will also be members of the council. Now, whenever there are union territories present in the Northeastern Council, currently we do not have any union territory in the Northeastern Council, but in case if there are union territories present, then the president shall nominate members as a representative from the union territory. So, these are the composition, these are the members of the Northeastern Council. Now, we need to know who are the chairpersons and vice chairperson. So, the law says that, Northeastern Council Act says that president shall appoint any member. So, the president shall appoint any member amongst these members as the chairperson and vice chairperson. So now when you compare with the zonal councils which were created through the States Reorganization Act with the Northeastern Council Act, there we can see a huge difference on what is written in the law. In the States Reorganization Act, there it is explicitly mentioned Union Minister shall be the chairperson, okay, and Chief Minister in rotation shall be the vice chairperson. That is already written there. But here it is said that the President can nominate, President can appoint any members who are already part of the Northeastern Council as a chairperson and the vice chairperson. So that is what the law says with respect to the zonal councils in India. Now with respect to the Northeastern Council, we have a specific executive order. An executive order has been passed in 2018 by the Union Cabinet. So the Union Cabinet through an executive order in 2018 had specified two things. The Union Home Minister shall be the ex officio chairperson of the zonal council in the Northeast. So the Northeastern Zonal Council's chairperson shall be Union Home Minister. That has been explicitly cleared by the Union Cabinet. Now comes the second one, the vice chairperson. The Minister for the Development of Northeastern Regions. That department is known as Donor, Department for the Development of the Northeastern Regions. So the Minister in charge of Donor shall be the ex officio vice chairperson of the Northeastern Council. So now if UPSC is asking you a question, it can be framed in two manners. Who is the chairperson and vice chairperson as per the Northeastern Council Act of 1971? So if the question is asking you based on the act, then your answer should be based on what is being written there, that is the President shall appoint anyone from the council. Now if the question is asking you in India or in Indian polity or in the Indian situation, who are the chairperson and the vice chairperson of the Northeastern Council Act of Northeastern Councils? In that case, you have to say chairperson is the ex officio chairperson is the Union Home Minister, and ex officio vice chairperson is the Minister in charge of Donor. Simple. Now you got a proper clarity on how you have to prepare in this particular area. That's it. Simple one. That's why I have said two newses which are very simple but which can be a bit confusing. That's all. So understand these ideas properly and refer on them and make sure that you are noting down these things, because these kinds of details are not present everywhere. Not every notes, not every textbooks and materials are providing you this data. So with this, we will conclude the session. Happy Onam and enjoy the vacations.
Amrita IAS Academy.